could this be the most heartwarming act of kindness we've seen this year? A grandmother's trembling hands clutched onto the young man in front of her, her frail body shaking with sobs. She had lost everything, her home, her belongings, the memories of a lifetime, all consumed by the merciless flames that had ravaged Sanchin. But at that moment, amidst the devastation, she found warmth, a comforting presence. The man holding her, whispering soft words of encouragement, was none other than Jin, a global superstar from BTS. In a scene that moved everyone present to tears, Jin wrapped the elderly woman in a heartfelt embrace, gently patting her back as she wept into his shoulder. "I hope everything gets better soon," he murmured, his voice carrying both sorrow and hope. The grandmother, still crying, kept repeating her words of gratitude, unable to believe that someone like him, a global icon, an artist adored by millions, had come to share her pain. Spring had just begun in South Korea, yet instead of blooming flowers and gentle breezes, the southeastern region was engulfed in a raging inferno. Fierce wildfires tore through the mountains and villages of Sanchin, leaving behind a trail of ash and despair. According to Yonhap news agency, the disaster unfolded rapidly, fueled by strong winds and dry conditions. Firefighters and emergency responders worked tirelessly, but the flames spread relentlessly, consuming over 22,000 hectares of land. Tragically, 4 lives were lost, 9 others were injured, and thousands were forced to flee their homes. Families watched helplessly as their houses burned to the ground, the memories of generations reduced to charred rubble. The South Korean government deployed thousands of personnel to combat the fires, but could they have done more to prevent this catastrophe? Questions arose as critics pointed out the country's vulnerability to seasonal wildfires. With March, April, and May being the driest months of the year, experts had long warned of the risks, but as politicians debated policies and meteorologists analyzed data, the victims of this tragedy were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives, and no one expected a global superstar to show up in the middle of a disaster zone. Yet there he was, Kim Seokjin, better known as Jin from BTS, standing among the ashes, dressed simply in a black jacket and jeans. For most celebrities, charity work often means writing a check or posting a sympathetic message on social media. But Jin went further. He walked through the debris, talked to survivors, and most importantly, he listened. "It's not just about donating money," Jin told reporters. "These people have lost so much. They need to know they are not alone." And it wasn't just words. As cameras rolled, Jin kneeled down to speak with an elderly man who had lost his farm. He held a young girl's hand as she sobbed, her family's house turned to ruins. He joined volunteers in distributing food and supplies. His presence alone seemed to bring comfort to those who had lost everything. In an industry where image is everything, many celebrities carefully curate their public personas. They sponsor charities, attend benefit concerts, and donate money, but few step into the heart of devastation like Jin did. Why did he do it? Those close to Jin know that he has always been deeply empathetic. During BTS' rise to global fame, he consistently supported humanitarian efforts, from UNICEF campaigns to COVID-19 relief donations. But this was different. Jin had recently completed his mandatory military service, and instead of taking a well-deserved break, he chose to visit the fire-ravaged region. This was personal, this was raw, and his fans noticed. The BTS army, known for their passionate support, quickly mobilized to raise funds for wildfire victims, inspired by Jin's actions. Within hours, donations poured in, reaching millions of won. As the fire-ravaged towns begin the slow process of rebuilding, one thing remains clear. Jin's visit was more than just a publicity stunt. It was a reminder that kindness still exists. That in times of unimaginable loss, a single embrace, a few comforting words, and the presence of someone who truly cares can mean the world. As South Korea mourns its losses and begins to heal, one question lingers. What if more people, more celebrities, more leaders, more of us, chose to step forward like Jin did? Would the world be a kinder place? Jin's visit may have lasted only a few hours, but the impact of his presence will be felt for a lifetime. For the grandmother he hugged, for the children who saw a glimmer of hope in his smile, and for the thousands watching from around the world, it was a moment that transcended fame and fortune. This was not about a celebrity doing charity work. This was about human connection. And now, the question remains, what happens next? The cameras have left. The news cycle will eventually move on. But for the wildfire victims, the reality of rebuilding their lives has only just begun. Yet, something is different this time. Thanks to Jin's visit, an outpouring of support and donations continues to flood in. Not just from his fans, but from ordinary people who were touched by his sincerity. Foundations, businesses, and individuals are now stepping up, offering help in ways they hadn't before. It's as if that one simple hug had ignited a movement. For many, Jin's gesture was a powerful reminder that kindness doesn't require a stage. You don't need millions of followers or a famous name to make a difference. A warm embrace, a listening ear, a helping hand. These are things we can all offer. Perhaps that is Jin's true message, not just his fans, but to the world. That compassion is contagious, that hope can be shared, that sometimes, in the face of unimaginable loss, all it takes is one person willing to stand in the ashes with you. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough to start healing. Jin's visit wasn't just a fleeting moment of comfort. It became a catalyst for something much bigger. Across South Korea and beyond, people began asking themselves, what more can we do? Inspired by his genuine empathy, local and international organizations ramped up their aid efforts. Fundraisers that started as small fan-led initiatives soon caught the attention of larger charities, leading to millions in donations for wildfire victims. BTS fandom, ARMY, known for its philanthropy, organized donation drives, food relief programs, and even helped rebuild homes. Government officials, too, felt the ripple effect. The disaster had already exposed weaknesses in wildfire prevention and response efforts, and now, with increased public attention, authorities were under pressure to improve early warning systems and allocate better resources for disaster preparedness. In just days, policies were being re-evaluated, resources redirected, and discussions held on preventing future tragedies like this one. But beyond the money, beyond the policies, and beyond the headlines, what remained was the memory of one simple, yet profound act: a superstar holding a grieving grandmother in his arms, reminding her that she was not alone. Jin's return to the spotlight, with a different purpose before his military enlistment. Jin was known for his bright personality and lighthearted charm. Fans adored his jokes, his laughter, and his presence on stage. But now, something felt different. He had always been kind, but this time, his kindness carried the weight of experience, of real-world sorrow and responsibility. His return to the public eye after his military service wasn't about promoting a new song or making a grand comeback. It was about standing beside the people who needed him most. And in doing so, he had redefined what it means to be a global icon, an emotional farewell, but a lasting promise as Jin prepared to leave the disaster site. The same grandmother who had clung to him earlier reached for his hand once more. Tears still shimmered in her tired eyes, but now, there was something else there, too, a spark of hope. She squeezed his hand and whispered, "Thank you, my son." Jin, visibly moved, smiled softly. "Stay strong," he said. "You are not alone." And with that, he walked away, but his promise remained. A promise that through kindness, through unity, through simple yet profound acts of love, the world could still be a place of healing, because sometimes a single embrace can change everything. Days turned into weeks, but the memory of Jin's embrace refused to fade. News outlets continued to cover the story, not just because a global star had visited a disaster zone, but because his presence had ignited something deeper, a sense of collective responsibility, a renewed belief in human kindness. What started as one emotional moment between Jin and a grieving grandmother had become a symbol of resilience, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, humanity shines brightest. The global reaction, how the world responded to Jin's compassion social media platforms, remained flooded with messages of admiration and gratitude. Fans and non-fans alike were moved by the sincerity of Jin's actions. People from different parts of the world, many of whom had never even followed BTS before, found themselves drawn to this story.